What's good, everybody? Now, keep in mind, we do have a crazy, crazy sale going on right now with $8 shirts, $10 posters. We got $12 hats over at Rippaverse.com. We are trying to clear these items out that we had left from campaign number 1. So go ahead and get in. We're preparing for ISOM number 2. I'm excited. But today, we have to talk about this that a lot of people, of course, have been wanting me to discuss. We've had a slight uptick in viewership from the last video that I did on this topic a while back. Now, I want to say this. It's not a very complicated thing as I pull this sort of thing up. For you guys that don't know, this Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings thing, you see all these kind of tokenizations and the race swaps of these various sort of characters. And it's done purposefully. It's done in the name of diversity and representation and all these other stuff. And then they swap here in places that are not needed. And then when there's other aspects where they can, I don't want to say expand upon, because how do you actually expand upon Tolkien? That's your opinion to have. Nonetheless, you guys, but there's going to be frustration because there's Lord of the Rings is a different animal. We said this with Rings of Power, that it's not as like the fan base. Tolkien's fan base is just massive, and they do not tolerate as much as a lot of other fandoms, if you can call it that, with the deviations, with the changes, with the depictions of characters and all that. And I totally empathize with that. In some ways, you know, you wish that sort of enthusiasm and that sort of passion was present elsewhere and maybe some other fandoms. But this type of stuff, as documented here, I'm reading about it in the comics. I just want everybody to understand that this isn't going to stop. All of it's compromised. Everybody has control of really any property that you've ever enjoyed has long been compromised. And yes, it's needless. Yes, there's supposedly all these creative, wonderful artists, and somehow we still find our way back to tokenization, and we still find our way back to all of these deviations and swaps. They used to gaslight you and say, well, it's always about the best person for the job, but you see that stuff in places like this, as well as even in animation, which lets you know that had nothing to ever do with it. It was just, it was a purposeful effort. Now, this is going to be very difficult for me to say to like Lord of the Rings fans and people that love Tolkien's work, because, you know, you want to hold on to that sort of stuff. I think this is just the latest kind of thing that they're actively trying to, I think, just bastardize. I think it's less about ruining. I guess bastardization is ruining it in some sort of aspect, but it's more of, it has the visual behind it. It has the name, the mark, the recognition that doing something like what we did is, if you're pressed with those sorts of two issues, or you have to decide between those two things, create our own thing and try to get a fan base behind it versus taking someone else's stuff and making it be what we envision that it would be. They're going to take the latter, because it's easier. And people will at least give it some time of day. Some people would justify and excuse it just because of what it was. But I think that because you found out that Tolkien, this is a white pill, not a black pill, I want to be clear. But just when you found out Tolkien wasn't off limits, to me, that should have let everybody know that, okay, these guys, new stuff is going to have to rise from the ashes. This is what it is. Because they're actively going to burn everything down, or attempt to. And that doesn't mean that you can't have fun in, let's say, this genre, whether it be in sort of fantasy, more mythological kind of aspect, if that's what it is you want to be, or where you want to be. I think there's a lot of room for growth, and I think there's a lot of room for some newer cats to come up with something that will stand the test of time for maybe generations like Tolkien did. It's a lot. Now, yeah, you're chance in hell. You know, that you're going to be Tolkien. But I mean, to be fair, who was Tolkien before he was? So as daunting as it may be, or as difficult as it may be to accept that these guys suck, they don't care about you as a fan, as a reader of all of this work. They do not care about you. It's not about trying to save your legacy or any of that. So to me, the best way to do that is to gain some sort of influence from this and build better things that you benefit from having control of, and keep these weirdos and their greasy paws off of it. That's the solution. The solution is, we can gripe, complain all day long. I think that it's worth highlighting, making fun of, mocking, and shaming these weirdos when they do stuff like this. But as far as expecting change, it's naive at this point. Expecting them to like say, okay, we screwed up and then it's just not going to happen. They're not built like that. Hollywood's not built for it. Major game companies aren't built for it. They're all compromised. So what you can do, and the best thing that you can do, is create something that's your own. And maybe this is what the newer sort of industries are going to look like in art and entertainment. Now, I talk about this in the comic book space all the time. And that's, if you get out there, you create, people get behind you, you gain some sort of support. I don't think that let me say this. I think that the age of the mega corporation may be over. Not that they won't exist, but in the sense that there's a lot of opportunity for guys like myself. I'm not in this genre, but guys like myself that are doing our own things. And I think there'll be a lot of little successful pockets of little smaller companies that are keeping tabs on everything because they don't feel like they have to sell off assets to get money. Okay, because if you're legitimately good in this day and age, with everything being accelerated, with you having a direct line of sight with your audience through social media, you have access to what the other guys did. And this is why everybody had to go through the publishers, do all this, do all that, go through the proper channels, because you always hit a ceiling. Now it's like, what is the ceiling? And I would love more energy to be placed in that, in the creative aspect, because we see stuff like this and we're constantly reminded. I know we're going to go back and forth with these bad acting weirdos who act like they were such fans of Tolkien, and then on the other side says, well, Lord of the Rings, I'm now represented. It's like, but you liked it before. That's just how they are. The bad actors, they act in bad faith. Expect it. So what now? What do we do with the information as you get more and more examples? The Rings of Power didn't show you. This is going to show you. And if they're going to continue with the stuff over at Amazon, they're just going to show you that there are no limits here. They will continue. So I expect this. I know there's some talented folks out there. Go be great and go be the next thing. And again, you might not be a mega corporation, but you will be wildly successful, and maybe there'll be smaller entities that do that. If you enjoyed this video and want to support other content, please become a member at ericdjuly.com. This is my own unique platform that replaced my Patreon. Our Ultramax, which is our highest tier, gets free shipping domestically, even with Rippaverse orders, and are able to redeem the Creators Edition copy of ISOM #1. You can move up and down tiers or cancel at any time. Also visit Rippaverse.com. This is my comic book company that launched a $3.7 million campaign. We appreciate your support.